also Suzanne. Okay, let's get started. It's on the hour. For you, those of you that are brand new, not been to one of these sessions before, these are 60 minutes. We finish promptly on these sessions because it's the weekend, and in Portugal, as it is for those in Ireland and the UK, it is pretty much the weekend upon us now. So we finish bang on the hour, 5 o'clock UK time. And what we do on these sessions is I always have a theme. I've planned some content. I'll show you something to do with the software, typically 20 to 30 minutes. The rest is all Q&A. So it's to get more out of these sessions, just ask the questions. Stick them in the comments box, ask your questions, stick Q, that's a funny, QQ in front, QQ, you know what a Q is, don't you? Put QQ in front, just so they jump out at me, just in case lots of comments come through, and then I will answer them. All my teams here as well, if they can answer them just by replying in the comments. Okay, so today's theme with the software is how do we make our proposals look awesome, look beautiful. I'm going to share with you 3 tips for doing exactly that. So let's start off with between Emily and I, we've been playing around with this just before we went live, and we just created a brand new proposal. And let me just show you quickly, because I want to share with you a couple of tips on how you can create your own. And actually, I was playing earlier, so unfortunately, I went right to the very end of it. Let's go back. So here's a proposal I ran through the software for a client. We've just created this nice little title page. It pulls through, we've got the Meet the Team page. Then it's pulled through all the details about the fixed price agreement that was agreed with the client, including the scope of the work, what sort of things were included, how they answered the questions, what we agreed to do, the package they bought. It's got in there the other things that we agreed on, and special arrangements, which is behavior awards if you're familiar, and then we've got a title page. So how did we create that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, for those of you that are brand new, and there's some of you, I think Rez, you said you were new, I'm going to show you how you do a quote in the first place. What's the software all about? I'll show you how I created that particular proposal, and then we'll look at the 3 tips, 3 things you can do to design great looking proposals. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go across the software right now. So here we are in effective pricing. Let me just put myself back on as well so you can see me. So we're in the software right now. For those of you brand new, the software is something that you use in front of a client to agree the price. And you can price any service that you want. I've got lots of models set up. Depending on the plan that you purchase with the software, you get some models to get you started. So let me just do a quick quote first with someone. So let's imagine that I've got a client come in, or a potential client. They want me to do their bookkeeping, and they want to know what the price of that is. And so the first thing I might do, probably would do, is I would first of all build up the value of it. I'd have a bookkeeping brochure. I'd walk them through what it is that we do, build up the value of my bookkeeping service, and then when the client says, yes, that's exactly what I want to buy that, how much will it cost? At that point, I open up my laptop or my iPad, and we will then run through the process together. So this is what you would do in front of the client. Let's imagine the client is Peter Rabbit, and then what we do is we ask a series of questions. We will ask some scope questions to understand the scope of the work. So if it's bookkeeping, for example, we might want to know how many transactions per month they have. Let's say it's 50 transactions a month. We might want to know what industry they're in. Let's say that they're in construction. We might want to ask how many bank accounts. So these are all scope questions, things that will help us identify how much work's involved. And behind the scenes, the price is calculating for us based on how big or small or simple a project this will be. Now, as I hit save and continue, and if you're brand new, all these questions you can change, you can edit it in the software behind the scenes. We'll look at that another time. It may be that the client says they don't want to buy our bill pay services, that's fine, But we then can offer other choices. For example, we could say to Peter Rabbit, I could say, Peter, do you want the bookkeeping done monthly, weekly, quarterly? How often? And the client might say weekly. And we might offer, for example, do you want us to work on site at your premises? And they might say yes. Or they might prefer us just to work in our offices, but we come and collect the paperwork. So we can give the client choices, and they get to pick the things that they want. And once we've done that, we then remind them of our different options, and you can have up to 5 options, but 3 is usually the place we start with. So in this case, so think of it as a bronze, silver, gold. So we have our essential, we have our full, we have our premium. We can remind the client what they get and what they don't get with different packages. And ideally, you've also got that in your brochure. So you've already discussed your packages with the client before you open the software up. Ideally, the client's said to you which package they want before you get to this screen. But if you forget, you can then just remind them. So let's say we get to this point and the client says that they really want the premium, the most expensive one. So now we can reveal the price. And at this point, the client for the first time sees the price, 12 payments of $796. And either that's acceptable to them, they say yes, or they say no. That's all that can happen, yes or no. If the price is too high, then no problem. We can go back and we can change some of the options. So it might be that they don't need weekly bookkeeping and they'll actually have it done monthly. And that will bring the price down. So as you know, you can change the price. That brings it down to 6, 7, 8. And if necessary, we can always discount, but rather than discount, we use behavior rewards, which you don't have to do, but you could offer a client a discount if, for example, they use Receipt Bank to scan all their paperwork, for example. You might give them a discount if they agree to give you some referrals, and you'll see at the bottom it then reduces the price. Let's say they eventually decide on the middle package at $474. They've now bought. So once the client's happy, then oops, what am I doing here? Once the client's happy, then the software moves on. It's not quite the end of the process, because once they've agreed to 12 payments of $474, we might offer some optional extras, the upsell. And so let's say they want us to do their sales tax returns as well for just $75 a quarter. And that makes it 12 payments of $549. Okay, what's going wrong here at the moment? Why is it taking so long? Let me just go back and do that. I've probably done some messing up. I think I know what I did. Let me just come back to that in a second. I'm going to... that's good, isn't it? That's never happened before. What have I done wrong? Okay. Let me just go back to there again. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong buttons now. So let me just go through it again. I don't know what I pressed wrong. So it was Peter Rabbit. Yep. Okay, it's Peter Rabbit. Let's get back to where I was. And I was almost done, actually. So we get through, we ask the questions. He chooses the middle option. Price, let's go with 388 for now, just to speed things up. We select that. Let's imagine then that they're happy with all of that. We agree the payment plan, though, so we could change that. So by default, it's 12 payments of 388. We can have an advance payment. We can have a final payment. We can change the payment schedule if we want to. We did a session a few weeks back on that. And then finally, we can just review with the client what they've agreed to, the way they've answered the questions, etc. And we then hit save and complete. And that's the end of the process as far as the client's concerned. Client leaves the office, you've agreed the price, which is great, client's happy, but the final step is you might then want to send them a proposal. In fact, there's 2 final steps. The other one is to generate your price success metric, which is your way of seeing how much progress you're making with the software. We'll talk about that another time. So if we hit create proposal, now what we do is, the main purpose of the software is to agree a price with confidence in front of a client and allow the client to change things if the price is too high. Once we've agreed a price, the second thing we can do with the software is then to produce a proposal that confirms the price and all the things that they've bought. So you would typically do this bit after the client's left the office, after the meeting. You could do it with the client, but you're probably going to do it separately because you might want to change a few things around. So the first thing you do is choose what your proposal template's going to be, because you can create a number of standard templates. So I'm going to use one that I created earlier. I know it's a crazy, you wouldn't use this name, but it's a fixed price agreement circles theme. It's the one I showed you. So if I hit that, that's the proposal I want for this particular client for bookkeeping. And I'm going to give it a name, so I'm just going to call this one very simple, proposal. We've got the date and so on, and if I click next, save and continue, what the software now invites us to do, if we want to, is run through each page of the proposal and change it for that specific client. Okay, so we have the proposal, but every proposal is a template that we can change for the client. So that might mean it might be that you've got your standard proposal template, you want to add some bespoke wording. So if I was to just skip ahead, for example, to the first text page, it starts off by saying, to avoid any misunderstanding, this fixed price agreement defines the service we will perform for client name, and it'll insert the client's name in there. And we might want to change a few things around. We might want to add in something that we've specifically agreed for this client to put into the proposal. But I'm going to assume for now that actually we're just happy with the proposal. So we just hit save and continue. And what will happen is the software will take everything we just agreed with the client, the questions they asked and so on, and then it'll pull together the proposal, and it'll pull in all the various bits of information. So as I scroll through, let me go through a little bit faster. The way they answered the questions is here. So you've got a permanent record of the different things they opted for. You've got a record in an appendix here of what they got with the package they chose. They chose the middle package, the full package, so it sets out and reminds the client what they get and what they don't get, and so on and so forth. And that's the job done. We've created a proposal for that particular client. We can now download it, use it as a PDF, send it to the client, get them to sign it, and so on. Okay, so now I've shown you, for those of you that are brand new, that's the process with the client, the front end bit. We can agree a price, then we can create our proposal. So the question then is, how can we build our proposals? And I'm going to show you 3 tips for making them look great. So what I'm going to do is just go back to the home page for a second. So we set everything up behind the cogwheel in the top right, and you will see you have something called proposal templates. And this is where you can build your different proposal templates, fixed price agreements, engagement letters, whatever different types of document you want to create that the client will sign. And just like the pricing models, where we've created some for you to get you started, like you've got a model for pricing bookkeeping, that one we just run through, that's a standard pricing model that you can start with, you can adapt it, change it. In the same way, we've created some templates to get you started so you don't have to build them from the ground up. One of those is right at the bottom, it says fixed price agreement - rocket theme. So I'm just going to click that. It says use template. If I click use template, what that will do is it will effectively clone it. It will copy it so that you have your version of it. And it'll put a date on the end of it, the date you clone it. So I'm just going to call this for now. I'm just going to call this my proposal. Give it a name. So this template is my proposal. You could have as many templates as you want. You could have, if you specialize, for example, in the legal profession, you might have a generic proposal, but you might have a proposal that's specifically for lawyers that has wording that's perhaps more appropriate. I'm just going to go with proposal. I'll make it live, even though I haven't finished it yet. That means live just means you can start using it. And so the one that you get by default, if you use the one that we've built for you, you'll see that it has, we've put some images and things in there, like a client, like a rocket logo, and so on. And what I want to do is share with you 3 things that you can, 3 little tips of things that you can change. So let's imagine that you don't want this particular your front page to your proposals. You want to build something else yourself. And let's imagine that your logo happens to be the same colors as the effective pricing one. Of course, you would put your logo in here. But you'll see that the thing about the front page is you can have on the front page, you can have these headers where so there's 3 sections of header. You can change it to 2 or 4. And your header could have your logo in the left, you could move it to the right, you can change these header sections around in all sorts of ways. And if you want to find out how to do that, there's training videos on that. However, a little tip for you is that all of the items on the header there probably won't change for you from proposal to proposal, because it will always be your logo, it'll always be your address, it'll always be your telephone number. So because those things don't change, then we could build them into the design rather than having them as a separate header or footer. Now, if you wanted the client's details in the top, then of course that will change for each different client. So if you wanted, let me just do very quickly, let's say you wanted, I'm going to hit the pencil icon. Where it says address number, what address, that would be where you'd hard code you'd type in your address. But if you wanted this to be your client's address, then you would choose a keyword like address line number 1. So let me just delete that garbage at the end. And if we use a keyword, and a keyword, you can tell it's a keyword because it's got 2 sets of curly brackets at the start and the end, and that denotes a keyword. That means it will automatically pull, for whichever client you're working on, it'll pull in their address, their address line number 1. Just like we've got for client name down here, that pulls in the client's name automatically. But your details don't need to change. They'll probably be the same all the time. So if you want to do some more fancy stuff with the design, then one of the things that you could do is actually create the whole first page as an image and bring it all in. So one that I've done earlier, and I'm going to flick about a little bit, but here's an image that, actually I didn't do this, Emily did this. So Emily designed this front page where it's one image, and the image has, in the top left, the logo, our company name, our contact details. And so you could design that in any way that you wanted. I'm going to show you how that was designed. I'm going to tell you about a free piece of software that we use to create this little design. So you could create a beautiful front page as an image, and then what you can do is I could go back to my proposal here, I could hit the edit button, and I'm just going to delete this cover, get rid of it. And so we've got page 1. What I'm now going to do is add a brand new page, and I'm going to call this cover and hit save. Now, by default, it will put it at the end. So what I will need to do is, once I've done it, I will need to, let me just hit the save button. We can reorder them. So whenever you see these 3 dots, we can reorder it. I'm going to bring my cover back to the front of the document because it's added it at the end. Okay, so what happens is it's a completely blank document. There's nothing here whatsoever. It's a blank page to work with. And what we need to do is pull in a section. It actually defaults to a section, and we want this section to be a text section. Now you're going to think, hang on a second, we've just created an image for the front page. Why is it a text section? Because every section we can create in the proposal is either going to be a text or it's going to be an image. Text or image. We're going to pull in an image, but I'm pulling this as a text because what I want to do is use my image as a background image. So I'm going to hit, I've now got this text box, and you'll notice on the right-hand side there's a series of 3 little slider bars. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving around. It looks like an abacus. So kind of an abacus, and when you click on the abacus, you've got various settings for this page, one of which is to upload a background image. So all I'm going to do is upload that particular image that Emily created earlier. That's the image, and hit the save button, and that will now pull it in. But you're probably now thinking there's an error here because that image isn't filling the screen. It's just a little piece of the image. That's because we've created this as a text box, not a background. So what we now do is we hit on the little pencil icon to edit, and we can create our text. And this is where you may want to insert the elements that will change from client to client. So I'm going to insert the keyword proposal name. So you may see it's over on the left-hand side on the keywords. I've hit proposal name, and it's pulled it in with curly brackets. The curly brackets denotes, here it is, it denotes that it's a keyword. I might then want underneath that to pull from the keywords list the client name next, and then underneath the client name, perhaps I want the date that we did the quote, which would have been today. So I can pull those in. What I can also do for each of them is I might decide I want that to be a heading. I might want the client name to be in bold. So we've got the usual formatting. And what this is doing is it will pull in from the keywords for the specific client. It'll pull that onto your proposal. But because we've made it a background image, it always defaults to this number of lines of text. So what we now need to do is put some spaces in, some blank text, blank lines. As we do that, you'll see your beautiful image starts to expand and fill the page. And you'll probably want something before proposal name as well, because you want to pull down as well the header bit. Now the next bit's a bit trial and error, because what we then need to do is, and we've got some brand new developments, by the way, on the proposal side taking place right now, some big changes happening. Watch this space. In a few weeks' time, I'll tell you about all the new things we're doing with proposals to make them even easier, to make them look awesome. But at the moment, one of the things you do have to do is, once you've done this, is hit save and continue, which then takes you to the preview screen so you can see what it looks like. So we'll get to the preview screen and we can see what it looks like. But what sometimes happens, so we'll see, we've got our image, it's all about, including your company name, contact details. This is all just part of the image, but we're superimposing the keywords that we want. The name of the client, the date, the name we've called the proposal. It's putting that into the keywords, and we can play around with the formatting of that text if you want to a bit further. But one of the things you want to check is it filling? It's just spilled over the page, and I've put too many spaces in. So all you need to do is just go back to the editor, edit it with a pencil icon, and perhaps try it with deleting a couple of lines, and until it fits nicely on a page. So that's tip number one. Tip number one is, if you want you can create a beautiful front page cover and use it as a background image, and you could build into your image the things that were permanent, like your logo could be built into the image. The advantage of doing it that way means that you're not necessarily constrained to 3 columns like you are as the default proposal. And then because it's a background image, you can pull in whatever text over the top that you want, like client's name, dates, or any other keywords that you think are appropriate. Okay, that's tip number one. Tip number two. So I've created for you in the default proposal, the one that you can clone, some recommended wording for your fixed price agreement, and you can change all this if you want to. I've built this for you, so rather than starting from scratch, you've got some text that you can use. But one of the things that you might want to do is you might want to create a meet the team page. And so actually I'm going to do that third, if you don't mind, because because of time, I'm going to do a Blue Peter. This is what I did earlier. Let me go on to tip number 3. Tip number 3, and then we'll come back to 2, okay? It will make some sense. So if I go to the back page and hit view. So the default one looks a little bit like this. And it's you're welcome to use this. You're welcome to use the proposal that we've created for you. It's got an image, a photo at the back, an image at the back to create the back page. And then you could put in the footer on the left, where it says effective pricing, your logo to automatically go there. And then you could put in your name and your address details. And you can create multiple columns. We've done 3 columns here. If you wanted to, you could add another column. If I just pulled in text, I could have 4 columns, and I can rearrange these columns. So you can build columns, 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, if you want to have things side by side. But as someone pointed out to us, Rennie, who's here, sometimes that creates a few challenges if you've got multiple columns and perhaps one of your lines, like your email address, is really long and it spills over. Well, the second tip is, and it's really related to the first tip, is if you've got things on your proposal that will never change from client to client, like your logo, hang on, I didn't mean to do that, like your logo, like your name, like your address, then why not just build those as an image and pull them in as an image? So again, Blue Peter moment. By the way, Blue Peter's an English show, so if you're not in the UK, you'll have no idea what I mean by that comment. But Emily created this earlier. I'll show you how to create these. So Emily just designed this, and it's an image, and it's got that can be a back page of a proposal. And then all you need to do in Proposal Builder is just like the background image I showed you, is we just have one section, we make it an image section, we just pull the image in, and that's it, job done. Really, really simple. So that's the second tip. If you want a nice fancy back page, make it an image, and I'll show you how you can build images really nicely using some free software. But before I do that, the last thing that I want to just show you, and for this I'm going to, because I'm conscious of time, I want to answer questions. I like to keep these to a maximum of 30 minutes before I get into Q&A. So I'm just going to go back to this one called Fixed Price Agreement Theme, Circles Theme, and I'm going to hit the edit button. So another thing that you can do to make your proposal look really beautiful, as well as that nice cover, is page 2, is you can create a really nice Meet the Team page. And the way that you would do this is you can create this first section here is a text section. So I've got my Meet the Team, and then these are the people who will be working on this project. You can then pull in a little horizontal line that makes a nice little break, as you'll see when I show you the final image, the final thing. Then we created a section which was an image section, but we had 3 separate columns. All I did was drag in to the section an image section. When you bring an image in, it automatically defaults to the effective pricing logo, but then when you click on that, you import the image that you want. So you may have set up somewhere some photos of your team, like that's Sarah, and I could bring her in, and then we can have underneath that 3. Let me just delete that because it looks. I want to go back to 3 columns. Then we create 3 more columns, which can be text this time, so we can create a nice little the names of the people, and then we can have a line if we want, and then we can put in some text for our team. So whilst I've not built that into the standard proposal template that you can use, building a Meet the Team page is really quick and easy to do. And because I knew that there was a danger of overrunning, we've done a video for you, which is going to go into the comments box. I say we. Emily's done a video for you where she walks you through how she built this page step by step. So I know I'm going through it fast because I've got some of you are advanced, some of you are beginners. So don't worry, we've got you covered. Emily's done a video. Last thing I want to share with you, as I go back to here, is going back to images. A great tool in the way that we do images is using a piece of software that you can use for free called Canva. So if I just go across to here, I've got Canva open. We love this software. If you've never used it before, I strongly recommend you check it out. If you're in the Value Pricing Academy, you'll know I talked last month about our blog creation system and how to create thumbnails and all that sort of stuff. And many people said, Mark, how do we do that? How do we create those beautiful thumbnails? Well, Emily does that. She does it in Canva. She's a Canva wizard. And so all you would do in Canva, we've paid for our account, but you can get everything that I've shown you. You can build that for free in the software. And what we've done is Emily's done a step-by-step video for you Link will be in the description to show you how she built all those images and how she put them into the proposal software. So I know I've gone fast and thrown a lot at you, but Emily's got you covered because she's walked you through it. Essentially what you do is you go to the top to create a brand new design. Right in the far top, you create a brand new design. You can specify it's A4 if you want a front cover or a back cover. You want an A4 image. And if I click on your designs, I hope this will work. Yep. So this is what Emily did. She created an A4 image, and then she dragged in our logo. She designed these lovely circles, and that's the front page built in Canva. It was then exported as a PNG file and then just pulled straight into effective pricing. That was her back page. She, again, just had an A4 blank sheet, pulled in some circles, pulled in the logo, pulled in the name and address and all that sort of stuff, exported it as a PNG, pulled it into the software. That's an alternative one to do with an image. You could take images, and if you get Canva, Canva gives you, if you don't know where to get images from, Canva does give you some images that you can use which are royalty free. If you don't want to go to those sites where you have to pay. If you pay for Canva, which we do, you get even more designs and things that you can use. So if you have got no idea how to be creative around building a page and you haven't got a graphic designer, Canva makes it really easy because over on the left-hand side, it's got a whole bunch of 10 templates. So when you want to create something that's A4, it'll give you a whole bunch of templates that you could use as a starting point. Anyway, Emily's done videos that's walked you through step by step how she built these front and back pages step by step and how she put them into effective pricing so you can make your proposals look really good. Okay, let's move on to questions. We have 28 minutes for Q&A, and remember, stick QQ in front. A question about anything to do with the software. It doesn't have to be about proposals. It can be anything to do with the software. Let me know. So as I go through looking for, there's a couple of questions I can see, but I now know that Sandrine lives near Coimbra. Is that how you pronounce it? Forgive my pronunciation in Portugal. Joshua Jacobs is here from Arkansas. Robin Joyce, right, there's a question from Robin. Cleanup, how would you change Veronica's pricing to menu pricing? Okay, so those of you that have no idea what Robin's talking about, we had last week we had Veronica Wazek, who is the expert on how to do everything to do with cleanup work when the books and records are a mess. If you missed Veronica's session, then we live streamed it just like today's session. It's on my YouTube channel. In fact, perhaps Emily or Sarah might want to grab the link to Veronica's session about how to do cleanup work and stick it in the comments box. So Robin's obviously was on that session with Veronica where she gave some thoughts on how to price cleanup work. I'm going to be doing a session for Veronica soon where I will be talking about the pricing side of cleanup work. And for those of you that missed Veronica's session, she talked about two things. She talked about having a price for the diagnostic review, having a diagnostic, and everything she said I 100% agree with, and for that I don't think you need menu pricing. Menu pricing is giving 3 choices. But once you've done the diagnostic, once you've been paid to go and do a diagnostic review, and you now, as a result of that diagnostic, understand much better the scope of the work, the extent of the client's mess, now what you could do is you could go across to effective pricing for then the full cleanup. So that you get paid for the diagnostic, but then you might want to use the software because you go back to the client and you explain to them what's the problem with their books and records, and and then you could walk through their different options, and you could then use the software. So I have a cleanup model that I've created. I'm not sure, Robin, if this will answer your question fully. But for those of you that have never seen this, so what I would do is once I've done the diagnostic and I was then going to go back and give my proposal for doing the full cleanup work, I would sit down with the client, with the software, I'd ask some scope questions, like how many sales invoices per month do you raise? But also, let's say it's 50, how many months behind are you? How many months of cleanup work have we got? Now, all of this stuff, you know the answer to this because you've been paid to do a diagnostic. As a result of the diagnostic, you probably aren't answering these questions. You probably aren't asking these questions to the client. You're probably telling the client. So, Mr. Client, we now know from doing the diagnostic that you're 5 months behind with your record keeping. And so we can go and fill in the scope questions, but then also we can give a few choices. So if I just move forward to the third page, we might say, do you want this done fast or slow? Would you like our fast track service? That means we'll drop everything else and make you the priority and start cleaning up your work as of tomorrow, and we'll do nothing else until we've got it finished. If you want to do it fast, we can do that. If you're not in a rush, we can do it slow. Give the client a choice. And then, of course, what happens if the client says, I want it done fast, we charge a higher price. If the client wants you to travel to them, we can charge a higher price. So we can give them some choices as well. And then, as before, we give them a choice. We can show the prices and we give them a choice of 3 levels of cleanup. And you can run through and talk about the different things. So let me just go back to Robin's question. So how would you change Veronica's pricing to menu pricing? So what I would do is, for the diagnostic review, I don't think you need to use my menu pricing, and I know Veronica didn't talk about that. The way I see it is the purpose of a fee for the diagnostic review is really to, as much as anything, to show the client serious. If it's a brand new client, are they willing to invest money in you sorting their problem out? And so it's not so much about making a profit from that initial diagnostic. It's about the client demonstrating they value what you do and paying a diagnostic. But once you've then done the diagnostic and you've found out the full extent of the mess, you've scoped the whole project out, and then you're going to present your proposal, then absolutely yes, I would use menu pricing. I would give them different choices. And the question then becomes, I guess, Robin, so how do you have a bronze, silver, gold cleanup work? Well, I go to this in a lot of depth in my pricing academies, but it's essentially about just being creative and thinking, what are different sets of clients' needs? So you might have some clients that they want you to just do the bare minimum. They want a quick cleanup project. They want it done as fast as possible, but there's some things that may not be quite so important. So I'm just looking at my... so it may be that then what we don't do, it may be for the middle option. The middle option is for people who they've come to you because the reason they want it cleaned up now is because they've got the tax man breathing down their neck because they've not filed their last set of quarterly sales tax returns or something. So it may be for the quick cleanup, the bronze level. You don't get involved with liaising with the tax authorities, but the middle level, which would be perhaps a full cleanup, a silver package if you like, you might also sort out the conversation with HMRC, with the IRS, the tax authorities, and sort out whatever it was that gave a rise to the problem that's meaning they've come to you. It may be that part of the full cleanup, you resubmit their quarterly returns. It may be as part of the full cleanup or the premium, you do some training with them so that it never happens again in the future. So we just have to be creative about different things that we can do to add value over and above the bare minimum, and then give the client the choice. Hope that helps, Robin. Okay. I think there's a few comments about, for some people, it was freezing. I'm guessing it'll depend on your internet connection, because William says it's okay here. And Emily says the same thing. And a little tip as well, I don't know if this helps you, Rhino, but when you're watching live streams and stuff, Robin says use Chrome, not Firefox. This is my own person, I'm a Mac user, I love Safari, so Safari's always been my default. But what I find is that sometimes people have challenges with watching either live streams or watching videos, and sometimes it's down to the browser you use. Most of the time, using Chrome, it's the most consistent and reliable browser. So my advice would be, if you ever have problems with things freezing when you're watching videos, watching live streams, the first thing to check is check your browser. Okay, and I think there's a few people having comments about that. Right, Kim says, question from Kim, would you be able to change the cogwheel that you can just hover over it and get a sub-menu instead of having to actually click on it? No, Kim, at the moment, but it's interesting feedback. So what Kim's saying is, rather than having to click on the cogwheel and then select your option, could you hover your mouse, drop-down box appear, and then I guess you select it? I'm guessing that's what you're saying, Kim. Nobody's ever asked that question before. It's great feedback. Sarah, can you make a note? Because it's something we'll ask the developers. If it's easy to do, we can we'll look at that. Those of you that use the software a lot know that we listen to feedback and we make changes every 2 or 3 months, and those changes are based on people's feedback. Okay. I noticed that Emily's posted some of the links to the tutorials. Rez says, I love it too. That's cool. Not sure what you love, but I think I've missed the concept, the context that was in. But okay. What else? I'm just scrolling through. If I've missed your questions because there's no QQs, then you might want to go back and put it in again and with a QQ. Janine from Canada says, is there a place for the client to sign the proposal? So what you'll want to do is with the signing process is you'll need to just have a section where they sign it. So I've built one in where they'll sign it, but it doesn't integrate with tools like Adobe, EchoSign, because everyone uses different tools for signing. We had a session with David Pankovic a little while ago where David talked about how he integrates effective pricing and practice ignition. So what David does is he does everything I've showed you. He agrees the price with the client. He then uses effective pricing to produce his beautiful proposals really fast. He creates the proposal, and if I remember it right, I think he then downloads it as a PDF, and then what he does is he goes into practice ignition, and one of the first things he does is he uploads the beautiful looking PDF into Practice Ignition, and then uses Practice Ignition for that onboarding process and the payments. If you are in that situation and would like to know how he does that, we did a video, we put it on the YouTube channel of how you can integrate effective pricing for doing the pricing the proposals and integrate it into Practice Ignition. Emily, perhaps you could put the link to that in the comments box or in the description or both places, because I think people might find that really useful. If you're a Practice Ignition customer, then you will certainly find that fascinating how David did that to get the two to work together. Hope that helps, Janine. We have next question is from Jessica. Is there a way to view draft / open quote without having to click on each client until I find it? I'm not quite sure what you mean, but let me, because nobody's asked that question before, so you've caught me off guard for a second. I think what you're saying is, but I'm not totally sure. So within the software, you can go and see all of your clients, and for any particular client, like Peter Rabbit, I can then go, as well as changing the client's details, I can hit the quote section and I can see all the quotes that I've done for the client. Now I have lots here because I use it for demo purposes. You probably won't have so many, but in here you can see at a glance which quotes are draft, which ones you've finalized. You can then mark them off once the client's agreed them. If they've agreed them, you'll be prompted to put in your client success your price of success metric, which then gives you there's a dashboard. You can see your progress. If the client doesn't accept it, you can decline it. It prompts you to complete the success metric. So you manage all of your quotes here as to where they're draft, final, and then agreed. Most of mine are draft because I simply do demos and then I bail out. I don't finish the process. Ideally, all of yours will be blue. And then it's a case of just marking them as agreed if the client agrees it and signs it, or declined if the client changes their mind. And if they agree it, you then complete your success metric, which then tracks on your dashboard how you're doing. Let me just open that up. So, but going back to the question from, let me just do this one. So this is the dashboard. You can see, you get a graph, a chart that shows you how you're getting on with your pricing, whether you're getting higher prices, lower prices, now you're using the software, and all sorts of other stuff on your dashboard. And also from the dashboard, you can go straight into client management and go back to the list of clients, and then you can manage those quotes. So so that's the client management side of it. In terms of the question go back to the question that Jessica asked, is there a way to view draft open quotes without having to click on each client? No, you would have to do it based on the client. You have to go into each client separately. I don't think there's a way that I'm aware of. I'm going to go and check that though. And if there isn't, Jessica, if it's a feature that you like, just drop a line to Sarah and we'll add it to the development board. We'll ask the developers if there's a way to identify all quotes outstanding or all quotes that are draft regardless of the client, because I'm sure we can build in some search functionality. Okay, let me see. Janine, another question. I think I might have answered this one. So they can't e-sign in effective pricing. Effective pricing doesn't allow you to e-sign it. Instead, what you would do is you create a PDF, and then that PDF you can put it into whatever system that you use. I've never used Adobe EchoSign and so on, so I don't know what system you use. But as I say, if you use Practice Ignition, that's David Pankovic does it by taking the PDF and putting it into Practice Ignition. Okay, what else have we got? I'm just going through. Yeah, we've still got some more questions. I'm just making sure I don't spend too much time reading out all the comments when there's questions waiting to be answered. Okay, this is a question. I nearly missed this, Joe, because you didn't put the QQ in front. Joe says, how do you switch on the light package when in front of the client should you need to try that option? Okay, so what does Joe mean by that? So if I, let me explain. So this is a useful thing that you can do. Let me go. I'm hoping I can find this first time. In fact, let me go to, I'm almost certain I've got this built into Cloud Setup. So if you're setting up a client on QuickBooks Online, for example, then if let's say it's Joe Blogs, and we might ask some questions like, okay, you want to get onto QuickBooks Online. What system have you got right now? Okay, you're on Sage 1. You want to move to QuickBooks Online. How many bank accounts do you have? Because that would impact the amount of work if we set up the bank feeds. We might have some other options there. We then get to the page where we present our prices. Okay, so yes, I've got the answer for you here, Joe. So we've got three options here, the bronze, silver, gold. With the software, you can set up behind the scenes up to 5 packages, because there are reasons why you might sometimes want to go, not always stick to the bronze, silver, gold. There are many reasons why you will. It's called the magic of 3. I know I'm showing my fingers and nobody can see a thing so the magic of 3. 3 is usually best, but there are reasons why you might want to have a different number. One of those is where you might want to have a hidden package up your sleeve. By default, I refer to it as the light option. You could refer to it as something else. And there is one with this particular model. So in other words, we might have a situation where we have, let's say we've got somebody who wants to move to QBO, and let's see, and there may be that there are certain types of client you have where actually the work is so crazy simple that there's not a lot you need to do. Perhaps it's they want to move to QBO. They want you to set them up on QuickBooks Online, and they only started their business this week. So normally when you move someone to the cloud, to a system like QuickBooks Online or Xero, if they're moving from something else like a desktop system, then you would set them up on the software, you'd set up their chart of accounts, and then you'd transfer their opening balances, which I know that doesn't take long because I think Intuit have a service where you can outsource, they'll do it for you, and they'll transfer 2 years worth of data for no charge, and I think Xero has something similar. But anyway, you've still got to transfer, there's a process to transfer balances. Now, what if they're a business startup? You don't have to do that. There's no transactions gone through yet, so it's actually easier. So if you've got a package in mind for clients where they don't need the full thing, we might do this. We might reveal our prices. So we could say to the client, well, the essential setup's $750. And then if we want to, and you're in control of this because it's a hidden option, we could if we think that the client doesn't need the $750 option, we can hit this button, Joe, called TR. Okay, it's called TR because it stands for toggle reveal. The reason why we make it inconspicuous is because we don't want to flag it up to the client. But if you hit TR, that will then show if you've got another package, in this case, the light one. And why would we do that? Because if you've got a cut down package that's aimed at certain types of clients, and in this case it's $245, you do not want to show that because that creates a low anchor. Other clients who wouldn't even qualify for that, that's going to impact on, it's going to make the other ones seem more expensive. We don't want anyone to see the $245 cheap version unless you get to this point in time where the client that you're actually talking to, that's probably the best one for them. And the great thing is if when you hit that, you've used the $750 to create an anchor, so actually the $245 seemed like a bargain. Joe, I hope that makes sense. I hope that's answered your question about how you switch on the light package. It's that button called TR. And depending on how you set it up behind the scenes, that TR can toggle and scroll through. So there's other things that you can do. You can set it up to reveal one thing at a time if you want, and you can choose. You could just reveal one column, just the premium. And if they don't buy that, you then reveal the second column. There's all sorts of things you can do around that. Okay, Kim says, it says QQ and then it says not a question. Was that to fool me? Kim, not a question, but that hovering over the cogwheel came up in the discussion in our VPA Action Takers meeting last time. Okay, great. Just give us feedback. If you've got things you'd like to see changed in the software, we love feedback. That's how the software gets better. I'm not sure what Nina means by this. No place for company name, question mark, only client name. I've been putting both in the same spot. I'm not sure if that's a question or not, and come back to me if that is something you need some help with. Rez says, I created my engagement letters on Canva, so can I import these into effective pricing? I would guess not, and the reason I'm saying that, I don't know what you've done in Canva, but Canva's for creating images or PDFs. And so, yes, I guess if you've got a fancy effect, if you've created a engagement letter that looks beautiful in Canva, you could put it into the software as an image, as a JPEG or as a PNG, but because it's a PNG, you can't change it. And that might be fine. That might be all you need to do, because if it's standard text that never changes, then yes, I guess you could do that. You pull it in as a PNG. But normally what you would probably want to do is cut and paste it in as text, particularly if you want to be inserting keywords in various places. So perhaps paragraph number 3 wants to have the client's name to start off. It might say, Joe Smith, you want to have this package. And so you want to put in as a keyword Joe Smith, because it's going to change for each client. So I guess the answer depends on if the text never changes, then I guess, yes, you could do it in Canva, make it a PNG and import it in. Hope that helps, Rez. David said, oh, David, you're here. Awesome. This will be beautiful to then add it to Practice Ignition for signing. Thank you for sharing all your tips on that. It was awesome. So David's put a few more comments in the chat box about that. I think we have 6 minutes left. I think we have 2 more questions, and then that might take us up to the hour. Joe says, this is a follow-on, is this? Is it possible to switch on the light package when you're in front of the client? I think I've answered that, Joe, haven't I? I think you've asked it twice. So I'm going to assume that you're covered on that one. Okay, Valentina. Hi there, Valentina. Hope you're well. Hope you're cracking on and doing your homework for this week with video. I haven't seen you yet. I want to see that smile. Valentina says, hi Mark, do we need to have effective pricing and practice ignition or go proposal integration, or can we just use effective pricing alone? You can just use effective pricing alone. Effective pricing is the tool that allows you to give a price with confidence using a lot of value pricing principles. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, a lot of techniques, a lot of psychology, the way that I built the software, the way that you reveal the prices, the way that you involve the client in the process by asking questions. If the price is too high, you go back and change it. So effective pricing is as far as I'm aware, the only tool on the marketplace for using value pricing. There are tools that enable you to do fixed pricing. Practice Ignition you can do the pricing with. It's fixed pricing, it's not proper value pricing. Same with Go Proposal, it's fixed pricing. Value pricing is a pricing tool. It's designed to sit in front of the client, involved in the pricing process, and get higher prices. If you also want to as well, you can produce your proposals in the way that I've shown you, and you can create great proposals in that. And that's all you really need. If all you're doing is wanting to create and get great prices and then produce a proposal really fast that looks great, that's all you need. I don't know, Practice Ignition really, David Pankovic is the person to ask, but Practice Ignition is a great tool if you want to use it. I see Practice Ignition as being a great tool for the next stage, the onboarding, and you can automate the payments and so on. But I believe there's other tools that might do that. So it may be that you instead, then you go to a tool like Pixie, or you go to a tool like Jetpack Workflow, which are project management tools where you can then have your onboarding process built into those. Okay, 3 minutes left. I hope that helps, Valentina. Joe, again, I think it's a different question this time. Let me just check. So Joe says, do you need to set up your packages in a certain way to get the TR button? My packages don't show it. Yes, you do. So let's make this, we've got 3 minutes. This will be the last question, and then I'll tell you about what's happening next. So if I go back to here, so I showed you how you can toggle reveal packages live in front of the client. You have to set that up. So if I go into the cogwheel, which at the moment there isn't a drop-down box, Kim, but we'll try and work on that. If I then go into my model management, which is where you can edit and change your pricing models. So let's, which one shall I do here? Let me pick, I'll just pick Clean Up Work. Just going to save and continue. So when you're building your pricing models or editing your models or editing the ones I create for you, I didn't mean to do that. There's a workflow you go through. You can set up your questions, what questions you want to ask, what scope questions, etc., and how they impact on the price. You can set up your packages, so you can set up your bronze, silver, gold. In this case, I've got the fourth one. I've called the light one, Joe, review, because in this one it's just a quick review. Oh, this is cleanup work I've clicked on. I picked on the wrong one, but anyway. So I have a cut down cleanup work, which is just a review, which you could use for the diagnostic review, and that's set up as to reveal. If I go into, you'll see that you've got 5 options. You can have if you like, a super package as well, so you can have up to 5. But I've got 4 here. Let's answer Joe's question. So we go into pricing parameters. This is everything we do to set up the pricing of our packages. Usually by default you'll use 3. You'll use the middle 3 columns. You would ignore columns 1 and 5. Column 5 is if you want a light cut down version. Column 1 is if you want a super premium version. Okay, so 1 and 5 columns are your optional ones if you want more than 3 packages. And you want to go to the bottom of this screen, and the third to bottom row says display options, and you have 3 choices which say hide, show, reveal. Hide means it'll just hide it. even if you set this up, it won't ever show anything in front of the client because you've hidden it. You're not using it. Hide means you don't use it. Show means it will always default to show that package. It will show it. And it's reveal that then enables the TR, the toggle reveal. So anything you want to show the client, but only if you want to, that toggle reveal, you make it reveal. So in this case, I've got my 3 packages, show, 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 and the 4th one's then reveal. If I also wanted to reveal another one, then the numbering and below that determines the order at which they appear. And basically what that means is if I hit toggle reveal, then the super one will appear first, and then because I put 5 in this other box, the light will appear afterwards. So we can use the order of reveal to change and set the order that we show things. Okay, I think that takes us nicely up to the hour. If I've missed any questions, then you can either ask questions in my Facebook group, Value Pricing Mark Wickersham, and or alternatively, we're going to leave the stream going for a couple of minutes so you can still put some more stuff in the comments box. So if you have a question, then stick it in the comments box, and I will be reading through some of the comments as we wind up. Next thing, have a great weekend, of course, and then next week is the Business Advisory Masterclass. If you've not been to that before, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Starts same time as this session, 4 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Hopefully I will see you on the Advisory Masterclass. And anything else? Yeah, if this has been valuable to you, please just hit that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate that. That tells me that you've enjoyed the session. The next one of these sessions on the software will not be for 3 weeks, and the reason for that, these are usually every Friday, but we have something special for Value Pricing Academy members next Friday, a bonus session, and the Friday afterwards is a session for, again, people in the Value Pricing Academy where they'll get to meet Emily and Sarah and ask them all sorts of awkward questions. So we have some fun sessions in the next 2 Fridays for Value Pricing Academy members, and then we'll be back to the next one of these effective pricing Q&A sessions in 3 weeks' time. Okay, I hope to see you very soon. Have a great weekend. Goodbye for now.
I wasted all my time, I wasted all my nights, I wasted it on someone who's indifferent. He didn't love me right, he told me I was blind, but I never really wanted to listen.